I used to be over 400 pounds. I was diagnosed with cancer twice. I look in the mirror and just hate that person in the reflection.
Jason Anthony Ramirez is a filmmaker, content creator, and storyteller who has overcome insurmountable trials in his short time on Earth. From losing 200 pounds to beating cancer twice, I'm in awe of Jason's ability to fight for his life and come out stronger on the other side. Jason is a brilliantly talented filmmaker and creator with his own production company called Off-Type Digital. He's created for brands like Toyota, Samsung, Xbox, the NBA, and so much more. He and Rob Teagarden, who I've also interviewed as well in this show, filmed for my fitness company Hipburn in creating a program called Start Strong with Sarah Levy. I've also interviewed Sarah on the show as well, so make sure you check out all those episodes. But in this episode today, Jason lets us in on his darkest days and how he was able to lose those 200 pounds, improve his confidence, beat cancer twice, and he also lets us know about his creative process for filmmaking. Jay's story is powerful, and I encourage you to really pay attention because sometimes we feel like we're given more than we can handle, but Jason is proof that you're capable of so much more than you think. Make sure you subscribe to this channel and give this video a thumbs up to spread the love, and make sure you don't miss any of our future episodes. It's time for the first hour with Jason Ramirez. Well, Jay, welcome to the first hour. Thank you so much for coming on.
Excited to be here.
This has been a couple years coming.
It has.
We met in 2018, 2019.
Yeah. When you were with Gordon out here for that big, promo video that you were doing with all the girls, right?
Yes, that big collab.
Yeah, that was awesome. I remember.
So much fun. And ever since, we've been like, you're our guy, because obviously Gordon is amazing. We love Gordon, but he lives in Arizona.
Yeah,
so.
I talk to him weekly.
You do?
Yeah, I'm part of the mentorship program that he does, and we coach, and yeah, so it's cool that everything came full circle.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So I know you have some incredible skills, and I'm excited to learn about all the things that you do, how you got to where you are now.
Thank you.
But you also have an incredible personal story.
Yes.
And I know that this is a big thing in your life and will be able to touch so many other people's lives.
Totally.
So as we get started, how do you describe what you do professionally?
I guess I'm like a filmmaker. I don't like the word content creator because it's used so loosely now. But yeah, filmmaker, content creator, storyteller.
And you create your own content.
Yes.
And also freelance.
Yes. So I have a production company. Some of our clients in the past have been like Lamborghini, Toyota, Microsoft, Xbox, Samsung. So we do a lot of commercial stuff, but I started in the fitness wellness space because, as you guys hear, my story is going to be pretty fitting into that spot and how I kind of fell into it. So, yeah.
You and Rob did our Hipburn shoot with Sarah.
Yes.
And
yes.
that was so amazing.
So many laughs.
Oh my
time.
gosh. It was
just
incredible.
So good. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I had a blast.
So what brought you to this point where you were working another job and eventually you decided you want to do production and content creation full time?
Yeah. So I did the whole thing with what my family wanted me to do. So it was always go to school, get your degree, get that career going, find someone, start a family, retire. And I kind of felt into that mix, and my parents didn't have the opportunity to go to college or school. So my sister and I were had that opportunity. Shortly after, with the business and criminal justice degree, doing that white collar 9 to 5, I just knew I wasn't meant to sit at a desk. I couldn't focus. I've always been creative and liked to tinker with stuff as growing up as a kid. So yeah, I started picking up a camera. A friend got me into it. We started doing portraits and product photography. And then fast forward a year later, I'm just 28 at the time. I want to change careers. I'm finding a passion with this photography stuff. And I grew up in New York, so everyone always sees Hollywood, California, Los Angeles. And I told myself if I didn't take the risk now, I don't think I'd ever have another opportunity in my life to do so. So I packed everything up, had my Infinity shipped cross country with everything I could fit in it. And I kind of landed in Huntington Beach in a friend's little bedroom for 2 years while I figured this content creation stuff out without film school or anything like that.
Completely self-taught.
YouTube University, yeah.
Were there any creators on YouTube who were really pivotal that you learned from?
Yeah, there was a ton. Peter McKinnon's a very big one in this space, millions of followers, great educator. There's just a bunch, but I think for me, when I landed in California and I didn't know many people, the networking, getting on other people's sets and just grabbing coffee, being a PA or something like that is when I really understood how like production side of things worked, and it allowed me to find my lane and direction in which I want to go with the production. And that was video instead of photo at that time.
Interesting. And what drew you to video?
It would be like just the storytelling, the fact that you're capturing more motion than like frozen frames. Obviously, the money was better too. So someone that's just, you know, trying to get a fresh start, you can definitely make a lot more money with video. And 2024, we know video is king now.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that photography kind of is dying out. And yeah, the video is king. So
How would you describe your video style? It's so beautiful, but like,
Thank you.
Yeah, how do you describe it?
I like to use shaping light a lot for like our commercial work or even stuff like we do with you. So my style is more like the cinematography, like what you see in like feature films. I try to emulate more like that and less, I'd say, the TikTok style stuff or cell phone content you see. So more like clean professional, but like still has that grittiness depending on the shoot, you know, with the fitness stuff. I like moody scenes and sweat dripping off and my talent being backlit when they're doing the battle ropes looking really intense, stuff like that.
Yeah, it's just going through your feed and through your YouTube channel. It's just,
Thank you.
It really, every piece you put out does look like a mini movie.
I try.
Yeah.
I Not there, but we're getting there.
Well, I mean, I think you're there.
Thank you.
think
I
you have
appreciate
arrived.
it.
So you said you started in the fitness content creation.
Yeah.
Why are you so passionate about fitness?
This is going to be a lot. We
Good.
could be here all day.
I'm
But
ready.
Yeah. So, as you know, I used to be over 400 pounds back in 2000, basically my whole life leading up to 19, 18 years old, 19. And then I was diagnosed with cancer twice. So we could start by just where I grew up. I mean, you know, I was born and raised on Long Island, New York. I didn't come from like a hardship, but two like hardworking parents. Like I said, they didn't get to go to school. So they really worked hard for us. My dad was a Teamster union truck driver, and my mom was a successful real estate agent on Long Island. So growing up, I was always chubby. I started putting a lot of weight on in middle school and high school, and I got over 300 pounds by the time I graduated high school. I mean, I was bullied my whole entire life. I always told to sit in the front of the bus, like just girls wouldn't give me the time of day. Didn't really have a friend group. I was like, I guess the cooler fat kid because my parents would allow me to have like little house parties and stuff. So, you know how kids are, they like to use others for certain things, but I always felt alone. And then it wasn't until really my first semester of college where I started feeling like a lot of social anxiety that I never experienced before. Now I'm big, I'm 6'3", and at 400 pounds, you can't miss me. And I would just feel this pressure every day of going to school and like almost this paralyzing feeling where I would, you know, go to school, know my mom and dad were going to work, and the second they get there, I would just come back home some days because I was just so terrified of just being judged about being overweight and stuff and just not happy as a person. I'd look in the mirror and just hate that person in the reflection. So I don't really know what the catalyst was that had that like paradigm shift in like my mentality, but I just honestly really believe that I wanted it bad enough. And a lot of people over the years have asked me like, how do you lose weight? Like this, that, what'd you do? And it's really, you move a little bit more and eat a little bit cleaner. Like when you're that big, that little shift, your body's just like thanking you, you know? No more fast food or sugar, soda. And it's not like my parents were like forcing me to eat this stuff. It was just convenient because they were so busy, you know? Two young kids, and they're just trying to make a living and keeping us afloat. So I don't really know what caused me to gain weight so quickly or what really triggered me to make that change. I just one day told them that I didn't want to go to school anymore. And at first they were very like hesitant. Like, what do you mean? We've worked our entire lives for you to have this moment. You're the first kid that gets to do this. And I think until I like broke down and they like really understood, because I was very quiet about this. They didn't know I got bullied. Especially us males, like we don't like to show emotion. We like to keep that stuff inside, like, you know, just steal like across like outer exterior. So they had no idea. And it was really cool having the support. And they were like, you know what? Take the year off. You'll go back next year, focus on you and do it. And that was it. I just did it. No trainer.
Wow.
Nothing really crazy. I just like my first 4 months, my first 80 pounds of weight loss, it was just walking around my high school track. That's all I could do. My knees hurt, like, you know, like physically there wasn't much I could do, but I just kept going at it. And it was weird because I almost went from like, I tell people this, like one eating disorder of overeating to undereating because I got obsessed with it. And I was burning more calories than I was consuming. So as much as I made that nice shift and change for myself and my health, I still didn't know the educational side of things when surplus calories is okay if you want to put on muscle, you know? Like I got down, my heaviest was like 403 I saw on scale. And I know I was heavier than that, but I got down to 192. And I couldn't understand why I wasn't putting on muscle. I was cut, I was lean, I was vascular, but I was like, what am I doing wrong? I'm training hard. And it wasn't until my stepbrother, who's technically my cousin, but my parents adopted him over the years, he was into bodybuilding and so was my dad. And he was like, listen, you're not eating enough. But I was terrified of getting fat again. So it took a little bit for me to understand the nutrition side of things. And since then, I've just been in love with the industry and the positive side of the industry, you know. And yeah, just thankful that if I didn't make that change, the diabetes, the heart disease, the cancers that run all in my family, I mean, we'll find out shortly that I did get some of that, but not the diabetes and stuff like that, which I'm thankful for.
Wow. So you started to make the change by walking around the track.
That was it. I stepped foot in the gym at 280. I told my brother, I was like, listen, until I get to this number, I'm going to just keep doing what I'm doing. And I was just walking. But I try to add a lap or two every like week, you know? And there was months where I'd lose 30 pounds.
Wow.
And I was just eating clean and moving more. I was that sedentary and I didn't even realize it.
Wow. So that first workout that you went into the gym, do you remember what you did?
Yeah, it was International Chest Day.
Okay. Well, I mean, let's go.
I told them in order for me to feel comfortable and confident, because, you know, it was still in my hometown, we had to go super early in the morning because I didn't want anyone to see me because I was still self-conscious. But he was like, okay, you know, he had to go to work. So we go before then at 4 a.m., 4:30, and we just got after it. And I fell in love with it. I really did. It was, I never pushed my body to that limit before, nor did I think I would be able to.
Did you play sports growing up?
I played lacrosse and football. I played goalie. I was like an athletic kind of fat kid, you know, but nothing crazy. No.
Yeah. So then after that first chest day,
you're
like, this is it.
That was it. I think once I saw the results, I think that's what a lot of people, like right before they're about to get the results and start feeling good, they like taper off or like give up. And it's like, for me, once I saw the results and the number going down, I was just like, this is working. Like, let's keep going.
When you were kind of setting these goals and seeing results, you mentioned you saw the number going down. Were there other things that you were looking for too in that process, or was it mostly just trying to lose weight?
It was just trying to lose weight.
Yeah.
That was it. I think with that being lost, I think the anxiety and the other like mental issues that I was having with like just not feeling wanted or never really meeting anyone. I didn't have a girlfriend prior to being, you know, losing my weight either. So at like 19, just being a virgin and single, you know, it's like, it's pretty crazy to admit. And it was just the cards I was dealt, and I just had the want to make that change bad enough to do it for myself.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when did you start feeling like, okay, I can go into a group of people and feel more confident in myself?
it's funny because there was like every town that you grow up in, there's like that bar that everyone goes to on the weekends and
because
stuff.
Long Island's small, right?
Yeah. So I grew up in Massapequa. So Jerry Seinfeld, the Baldwin brothers, they were all like from there and stuff. And we always had like this dive bar and all their pictures would be around it and stuff. And I remember going after my weight loss. And at the time I finally put on size. I'm bouncing at the bars and clubs out there on Long Island, like the day clubs and stuff. People from high school are reckoned like, oh my God, like what? Girls I had crushes on were like wanting to date me and stuff. Wow. It was just such a crazy shift that I didn't even remember that old person like anymore. It was really cool. It was nice to, I guess, admit to having that attention when I never experienced it. And in the beginning it was kind of weird because I was still like, why are you talking to me? And it just kind of sucked that like they were talking to me because of that, not being a good person. But it did feel good. And that's what continued to push me forward.
That is an interesting thing to have to navigate. Okay.
Right.
Like who's been there with me the whole time? Who is just suddenly starting to show up now?
Right. And you could read through it. Obviously, you don't forget things. I remember stuff that was said to me to this day, so, but it was a good feeling. It was a reward that I wasn't looking for or asking for, but when it happened, it just solidified that I was like on the right path.
So you mentioned that you feel like the pendulum swung a little bit the other way into feeling a little bit too obsessed.
Yeah.
What did that feel like?
There was days where I was just doing 2-a-days because I was just so driven and I want the results so fast. But I think if I could go back and do it now, I probably would have slowed down because I do have loose skin from the weight loss because it was so fast. And I think that if I would have done it maybe in 2 years and more steadily, that maybe it would have retracted better. But I don't know. I might have been just so heavy for so long that the elasticity wouldn't have come back. But yeah, if there's something to somebody that's like listening to this that's currently on their journey, maybe just dialing it back, trying to have a balance. Don't go from one extreme to another because your life still gets crazy and busy and then you feel bad when you're not hitting your macros or your goals and you kind of take it out on yourself. Hence why I'd be on the treadmill for 2.5 hours, burning off that entire cheat meal.
Yeah.
I'd be in such a deficit that, at one point my mom's like, your cheeks are sinking in, your eyes. She's like, what happened to my son? And I'm like, it was really interesting.
Yeah.
It was really interesting. And it took a few people to bring that up that I was like, okay, like I need to reassess this and see what it is that I'm doing wrong and just educate myself on nutrition.
So that re-education, like what are the tweaks that you made? Because it really is, it's a hard balance to strike or to create when you're going from one extreme to another. And even for people who aren't going extreme, but they're just trying to say lose 10 pounds or tone up a little bit. Like how did you kind of check that with yourself to make sure that you were staying healthy, but also working towards your goals?
I still kind of do it to this day with like the way that from keeping the weight off for so long, because so many people tend to put it back on, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think I kind of found what works for my body over the years. And one thing I basically do is I only work out in the morning. Oh. I'm the strongest and I try to do it fasted. It just works better for me. And then I try to just have majority of my carbs for my first 2 meals and taper them off through the day. And I just feel like it's allowed me to keep the weight off, but still like live within my means. Of course, like when we go out to dinner or something like that. Totally. But I try to have like the majority of my carbs post workout and then just phase them out through the day. And it's worked for my body type, at least. That's
really cool to have. It sounds like you have a general structure that feels good for you.
Yeah.
But you still have some flexibilities built in.
You have to.
Yeah.
You have to.
Because how do you keep the weight off? Is it just that balance?
Yeah. I would say it was just the entire lifestyle change. I don't think, like, I still don't drink soda. I still don't, if I eat fast food, it's random and occasional, but it's like In and Out or Cane's. It's not like the worser. Like, so I just try to make the conscious, healthy decisions. And when I do have those cheat meals, I either pay for it in my workout the next morning or
Yeah.
I'm fasting earlier in the day because I want that cheat meal. So just trying to live within the little bubble that I've created for myself that tends to work for myself.
Did you ever experience any like fears of foods? Like,
What do you mean?
Like, let's say when you were in the part where the pendulum swung,
Okay.
it's a little too obsessive. Were there any foods that you're like, I don't want to eat bread, or I don't want to go back to McDonald's because I'm afraid?
Yeah, I would say it took me a while. I remember like with the group of friends that I was with, like we would always go out to like Fridays on the weekends and hang out and whatnot. And I remember like during my weight loss, them making fun of me actually for eating like a steak, like ordering a steak, broccoli, and rice when they were like, I don't know, nachos and all the other garbage. But I was just so dialed at that time that no one was going to stop me from my goals. But I wouldn't say I was scared of anything. I was just disciplined.
Yeah.
You could hold anything out in front of me and I was not wanting it, you know, like if it was keeping me on track, like nothing could I was like laser focused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing to be able to go, and it's hard too with peers because
Totally. Kids are mean. I mean, we're young, we're dumb, we're just barely hitting college. Like, I don't hold anything against anyone anymore. We've
For
all
sure.
grown out of it, but kids are mean. I can't imagine what it's like with phones now. The bullying, just airdropping like a bad photo to somebody
Yeah.
like all around school, like it must be a nightmare. I couldn't imagine it. I'm glad I didn't grow up during that.
I know
Right?
it's wild, but being aware, and I think too, just people like you sharing about this, I think can provide perspective into what does it actually feel like
Yeah.
to be a person who has been made fun of, and like because
Totally.
a lot of times people don't want to share this stuff.
No, I mean, I've been saying I've wanted to just have a moment like, and I'm so thankful to be here today because I think especially as males, like I was saying earlier, we don't want to be vulnerable and we don't want to talk about our hardships or for many be judged as being less alpha, let's say, as dumb as that sounds. But this year I told myself like, I want to share that story because if I could just impact one person who's going through it right now or who's about to give up, hitting that like result, like that's going to show up next week on the scale or something. Like if I could be a voice and just let them know they're not alone and that everyone goes through hardships. Everybody, we all have a story.
100%.
Why not? Like everyone else is doing it. I might as well give it a shot because I like to think I've been through some pretty crazy stuff.
You really have, and
Yeah.
I knew some of these things.
Yeah.
But the depth of what you've gone through in your short years on this earth is pretty astounding.
It's crazy. I'm not going to lie. Never did I think at 30 would I be diagnosed with cancer.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just something that even to this day, I can't wrap my head around it. But now understanding the type that I had and that being the demographic age. So, yeah, I mean, it's pretty crazy. I mean, the first time I was diagnosed, I just hurt myself. We were up in Azusa Canyon right here filming some Porsches and Lamborghinis. And I remember we did the exterior shots. I had to move into the interior. I'm wearing like skinny jeans that day. Lamborghinis are low. So when I sat in, I kind of felt a pain in my groin in the testicular area. And I was like, that didn't feel good. And it was like a dull pain. Like if for us guys, like when you get kicked there, it hurts really badly. And then there's like a dull pain. But that pain didn't subside for a month.
Oh, gosh.
And I'd be walking and I'd feel it and just like little zaps of like shock. And I'm like, this isn't good. And no one ever told me about checking yourself down there for anything. And so I go to Newport Beach, Hoag Hospital.
Yep.
ER doctor's super funny. He's like, what happened? Let me hear. I was like, oh, I kind of sat on it. He's like, oh, I've done that before. It sucks, right?
Yeah.
He's like, it's probably nothing. We'll go get a image taken. We'll prescribe you some anti-inflammatory. You'll be fine. So I go. Lady's doing the ultrasound on me. And I'm like, do you see anything? And she's like, I can't tell you. But my girlfriend at the time, she was there. And I just remember seeing her jaw drop. Mind you, she doesn't know what she's looking at.
Right.
But she told me that she saw this just big black, I guess, mass or dot on like what looked like muscle tissue. So after that test, we go back to the ER. ER doctor comes in. She's in the bathroom. His whole demeanor's changed. And I knew instantly. He went from bubbly and joking to just like, Mr. Ramirez, I just want to wait for your girlfriend to come back in the room. I was like, oh, this isn't good. And yeah, he said, we found a tumor on your testicle. You have testicular cancer. You need to go see a specialist. And that was kind of it. I was like, that was it. And I was like, wait, what? You know, I'm like processing this. My mom's on the phone. I'm like, now what? He's like, you have to go make an appointment, start the process. Fast forward almost 3 months after that, I see my oncologist, endocrinologist at the first time. And yeah, it was just crazy because like those months knowing I had a tumor that was growing and then not being able to see someone and get the process started.
And that's because you couldn't like get in for an appointment, or what was the?
Just with insurance and then like how busy some of these spots are. Like even when I go for my checkups now, it'll be like a month or two out just because of how many people are being diagnosed with these diseases. It's crazy. So go through that. That was like November of 2018. I have the tumor removed. I'm offered to do chemotherapy, but they said most guys don't. It's only stage 2. We caught it early.
Okay.
This happens between 25 and 35 in males. Believe it or not, we don't know how it happens. It's just one out of, I think, 5 or 7 guys gets it, which is crazy to me. When I heard that number and how we hear about breast cancer, ovarian, or other types, why aren't men talking about just checking yourself?
Yeah.
You know, like this is something, like I said, I've never heard about. Like I've heard, you know, you hear friends like, oh, my cousin or uncle has only one because he, you know, like, but you don't really like understand why or how you should be checking yourself and the age it happens. So we removed the tumor. I go 11 months completely clean. We're doing my last round of surveillance for the year. And I get the worst news in my life. They basically tell me, and I'm going to try not to choke up, but the cells were lying dormant. So the blood work, the CT scans, that whole year of surveillance, I was going every 3 months just to make sure nothing was happening. They were just traveling. And I wound up having lymph nodes enlarged right behind my spine, like in the abdomen, because cancer travels to the brain, it goes up. So that's when it was like right before my 1-year anniversary, right before Christmas. Mind you, my dad had passed on Christmas morning a couple years before from health-related issues. So I'm freaking out. And she's like, we're going to start chemotherapy on the 26th. I was like, great. I get to stress out all day with my family of what I'm about to endure the next day. So I wound up having a porta catheter put in because I didn't want my veins getting blown out. A friend of mine had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and he's a bodybuilder, and he said it just wrecked his veins. And
what happens?
They kind of just collapse.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, because the chemicals of the chemotherapy. So I had this port put in, everything's cool, and I start chemo. Mind you, both times I was in the best shape of my life. I didn't feel sick. I didn't look sick. I never would have known I had it until I guess one day it was big enough for me to be like, this isn't good, you know? So we start the first round of chemo and I'm like, okay, it's not too bad. It's 1 week off, 1 week on, 2 weeks off to allow your body to recover. And I'm feeling great. I go that Monday, and come that Friday, I'm just drained. And you're spending 8 hours in a chair like this with, you know, the tubes and everything hooked up to you, the IV drip, and you start with 2 hours of hydration because the chemo, the 2 types of chemo I was taking, dehydrate you. Then you do an hour of this anti-nausea medication. And then the first bag of chemo goes on. And when that first bag got drained, it literally feels like your energy is sucked out of you. It's the craziest thing I've ever experienced. It's wild. And you just you go in that morning feeling like energized, and then by the time you leave, you're just like zoning out. The side effects start hitting you. And it's not until like the end of the week do those side effects really get bad. So I remember that first weekend, I start getting like bad ringing in my ears, metallic taste coming in my mouth because chemo's very metal dense. I'm getting the brain fog where I'd just be staring off into space for hours and not even know. You just zone out. And my roommate at the time was battling a brain tumor.
Oh my gosh.
And knock on wood, he's still alive today.
Yeah.
It's the size of a pea. It's incredible. That's a whole nother story. But I'm so thankful for him because he had just finished his rounds a few months before, so he could relate. And it's really hard, the side effects, the way it makes you feel until you're in it. And he would just spend time with me. And that's all I could ask for. I had a really good support system of people that have gone through it. But the craziest thing during it all was the second and third round were really rough. One night I woke up in excruciating pain, what felt like electricity shooting up and down my spine. And it was actually my nervous system having contractions. Wow. And I had this like steroid patch on my arm that self-injected and it didn't go off, and it was supposed to prevent that from happening. So I remember like on the phone crying hysterically with my mom, like, it won't stop. I don't know what to do. I can't get to the hospital. So that was really intense. And then just the ear ringing was getting bad to the point where my oncologist thought I was going to go deaf. And she said if we did our fourth and last round, which I told her I wasn't going to do regardless of the case. Sorry. No, yeah, like she was terrified that the side effects were really wrecking me at that time. And she's like, let's just do the tests. Let's see what's up. And thank God it did what it had to do. And I just couldn't fathom myself as like a fit, strong male going through that. And then every day I'm sitting in that chair seeing like infants and elderly. Like if that's like causing me that much pain and suffering, like how are they doing? You know, it was just heavy. And I'm just grateful to still be here and everything. But yeah, that's something that to this day, it's like, if that kicked my ass that bad, an 80-year-old, or even like the 8-year-old girls, like I would see them, and it was sad. Yeah. Because like coming into this world, like no one should go through that, let alone like someone towards the end of their life or their beginning, you know? So that was heavy. Yeah.
I cannot even imagine.
Yeah.
My best friend growing up in Minnesota, her daughter had neuroblastoma and had to go through all of these different treatments and things, and seeing this little tiny person who's only been on this planet for a couple of years have to endure that is just unfathomable.
I don't know how. You see the commercials and the kids are smiling and you could clearly tell they're like gone through chemo. And I'm just like, I don't know how. Because I want to give up so many times. I want to take my life at one point during chemo. It wasn't fun. It was just a lot. You're basically just a shell of a human.
Yeah, what was going through your head in those moments?
There's just a lot of times where you're not sure if you're going to make it, if you're going to beat it, the what ifs. You feel like you didn't live your whole life, you know, like my career, my YouTube channel is just popping off. We just hit 20K subs in a year. Like I'm doing podcasts, brand deals, kind of like what you do with fitness, but in my scene with the cameras and stuff. Right. So I was on a rise and it just came crashing down. And now I just feel obligated to share this story to let others know who are going through that. Like my mom was in Florida. She was up here for round 1 and 3, but I was alone the other 2. And during like the rehabilitating stuff, because she couldn't take off work, unfortunately. But yeah, it was just, there was people that I expected to be there for me. Some of my closest friends that weren't, which was pretty crazy. But then there was strangers or Instagram friends or just people that I wouldn't ever think that would be there for me that were, you know. My boy Steve, he's the only one that ever visited me during treatment. Wow. So I'm forever grateful. And just a handful of friends. My buddy Max would pick me up for lunch multiple times a week and just take me out, you know, like just keep me busy. And then we finally get the good news. Everything's up on the rise. And then COVID starts. Oh my gosh. So she goes from, Jay, I have the best news ever. Go live your life. You're cancer free. Everything's worked out, this and that, to like a week later, like, hey, there's this thing called COVID. And at the time, I've been quarantining the whole chemotherapy, the 4 months, because my immune system's so down. I have to be careful with what I touch, what people touch that I've touched because of me transferring some of the chemicals to them. It's crazy. I didn't even know that. Yeah. And yeah, she's just like, can't go out. You got to stay in. So I was like, great. You know, like it was literally like I wrapped up like last week of February, and like come March, like the first 2 weeks, it was just crazy out here. So yeah, it was wild, but it definitely, as cliche as it sounds, does give you a better outlook on life. I still slip up every now and then, but I have to check myself, you know. But I will say I do have trauma because of it. Anytime there's something wrong with my body, it kind of goes to that dark panic. And I'm trying to work on it right now to just not, it's not cancer every time something's wrong with you, you know, but that's something that, you know, therapy and stuff's helping, but it is traumatic. Like I'll feel something weird and instantly think like, oh my God, I gotta go get this checked. And, you know, they want you to be proactive, but at the same time, it's just, I know mentally I gotta work past that.
For sure. And that's not something that's going to happen overnight.
Of course not.
I mean, because of all the things that you've gone through.
Yeah.
But like, good on you for actively acknowledging it and seeking ways to be like, okay, I want to work through this.
Totally.
Because that's a lot. That's a lot to carry. And especially like as humans, we're going to have bumps and bruises and things popping up. So being able to like figure out, okay, what's my plan of action and how do I navigate these thoughts that pop into my mind? Because we can't control it all the time.
No,
you know?
No.
So being able to have like, okay, here's my checklist when I feel something, what are the things that I can do to be able to talk myself off the ledge?
Mm-hmm. Totally. Even like body dysmorphia is something I still fight with from the weight loss. So yeah, there's just certain traumas, you know, I'll look in the mirror. Some days I feel too skinny, too jacked, too fat. Like it's just something that we go through this trauma and we have to work on it over the years. But I've definitely got more confident. I definitely have more of a presence. I don't think I'd be able to even have this conversation with you and the camera's rolling because of how self-conscious I was. And I would owe the YouTube space and like the industry that I work in, where I force myself to get in front of camera and start opening up more. And even this year, trying to be even that much more vulnerable, talking about topics that most men don't, that I think is allowing to help me get past some of my trauma too. So it's been really cool and refreshing.
Thank you for doing that. Seriously, because it's like, you have no idea who's going to hear your story.
That's it.
And
exactly.
Have that save their lives.
That's it. I mean, I don't know if I should talk.
Say what you want to say. We can always cut anything out.
So a buddy of mine was going through a hard time, and I'm just going to leave it very vague.
Of course.
If I didn't text him that night, he wouldn't be here today. And I'm just hoping that the stuff I'm going to be doing moving forward, like with this and other stuff, could just do that for a stranger, you know? That's like going through something similar or something completely different. But I think my new mission moving forward, like I want to talk about this more. Like the content stuff's cool, but like if I could make a difference, if I could answer a question for someone who's like, I've tried losing weight, you know, since I've recently been sharing my story and I'm working on like my mini documentary on myself, I've been putting sound bites out. Just the feedback's been insane. Like just kids reaching out to me like, I am that fat you right now. And I've wanted to do some dark stuff. Like, what do I do? And I'm like, bro, here's my number. Hit me. Like, let's go. Come on. You're not like, I got you. Like, let's just voice to listen to. You want to hit the gym. You want to sit down. I'll write a workout program. Like,
Yeah.
I don't care. I just want to give back. Because so many people have given back to me, whether it's like higher up directors and DPs, like as mentors and stuff like that. And I don't know, something sparked this year where I'm ready to just give back.
That's incredible, because it's hard to open up and to share and
Oh yeah. I'm terrified still, but I'm just saying, fuck it. Like, I got nothing to lose. If you're going to hate on me for like sharing my story, but you're going to love the girl hitting the TikTok dances, fuck you. Like, you know?
Exactly.
Like,
and because it's not for them. It's for the people who are silently suffering, and you're going to change their life because of that.
Thank you.
It's scary to open up and talk about the things that have happened. And I've gone through seasons in my own life, in my own story, that
we've
like
shared stories, right?
Yeah,
like,
where it's like I have had periods of time where I don't want to talk about it. It feels really painful.
Yeah.
But then going through other periods where it's like, if I don't,
are you doing yourself a disservice, right? Because I feel like if I don't start now, I'm going to regret it. And I may not have that opportunity to help save somebody or help somebody reach their goals. And then I wouldn't be doing my due diligence.
Well, just the depth and breadth of the things that you have experience with. And you are a successful business person in spite of all these things that have happened to you. Like, just thinking about you sharing your story, I'm like, okay, people who are going on a weight loss journey, or maybe they're not trying to lose weight, but maybe they're having body dysmorphia. Maybe they are going through cancer. Maybe they're not going through cancer, but they do have a really terrible illness or
a disease
injury.
Is a disease.
Yes.
There's something in there for everyone to relate to. And that's what I meant earlier by like, everyone has a story. Just because I had cancer twice and lost over 200 pounds doesn't make someone who had lesser of a struggle, but still was traumatized from it and gone through stuff. Like, our stories are still the same.
Yeah.
You know, like, mine's not more worse than somebody else's. I mean, you just hear everybody having a story. And I just really want people to know they're not alone, because we've all lost really good people who died too early.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that we do everything we can to prevent that from happening now. Because it's weird, like, I've had a lot of epiphanies lately, and I'm really just focused on, like, I just turned 37, almost, 40's coming quick. Like, Jay, you gotta get back to, like, really taking care of yourself. You're working hard, the late nights on set or early mornings or skipping some meals here and there, I'm like coming back to checking myself and getting back on track. And that's okay,
100%.
Yeah.
I think that's such a powerful thing to, like, for me in my own life. It's like, I don't believe I ever have everything figured out.
Right.
It's always an evolution. And it's like, okay, what am I needing in this season of my life? And constantly coming back and checking that.
Yeah.
It's really powerful, because it helps you avoid complacency. It helps you avoid slipping back into old patterns. And it helps you move forward to create an even better, more healthy life.
Totally. I think just being conscious of it and knowing that you're doing it and that you need to make that shift just shows the maturity of your mentality at that point, because you're recognizing it, and now it's up to you to make that change and get back on track. And I think by us knowing our bodies well enough and like what works for us, like, we could easily snap back into that when we find ourselves maybe just getting off track.
Yeah. Help me understand this timeline a little bit, because I met you, I think it was 2018 or 2019. Did you know you were sick at that point?
No, I wasn't diagnosed yet.
Wow.
Yeah. It was probably a few months. I think it was over the summer that we did the Gordon stuff. And then it was that November. So it was like a couple months afterwards when we had first met. It was the first time.
That's wild. So then you went through the first rounds of chemo.
Yep.
And then you said it came back.
Yes.
Or a different kind came back.
So we started in 2018. The tumor was removed in November. 2019 in November again, right before like the diagnosed date. It was still testicular cancer. Apparently when the cancer travels wherever it originated from, or like that original diagnosis, that's the type it will always be.
Gotcha.
So yeah, when it traveled up, it was still that type of cancer. It just had spread and it was no longer in my pelvic region. It was now like attacking my like stomach and lymph nodes in that area, trying to work itself up to the lungs and brain next.
Wow.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Did you go through more rounds of chemo?
No, it was just the 3 rounds that we
Okay.
did. She wanted me to do a 4th, but those side effects were just wrecking me too much.
Yeah.
And I honestly told her, I said, I'd rather die than do that 4th round because I physically can't.
Yeah.
It was just, you recover like those 2 weeks, but each round, the recovery takes longer. So by the time I was approaching the 4th round and I was supposed to start in 2 days, I was still like fresh, like the side effects were like still at their peak.
Too much.
Yeah, they weren't subsiding at all, and that's what they try to do. They try to let you like rejuvenate and come back fresh again. And I was a zombie at that point. I mean, I could throw you a photo to put up here so the viewers could see.
Yeah.
Like, it was crazy how I looked. I mean, I got down to 180, the lightest I don't think I've been 180 since like I'm 12 years old.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, you know, like I was heavy all my life,
Wow.
so no hair. The one thing I didn't want to lose was my eyebrows, though. I'm already losing my hair, like whatever,
Yeah.
but like the skin pigment change and the eyebrows is when you recognize somebody. And it was the second round that the eyebrows are falling out in the shower. I'm like, shit. Like, I'm literally touching it. I'm like, oh my God. Like, the port when I would have to shower, I have to tape it up because if water got into it, I'd die.
Oh my God.
So yeah, like they like tap in a syringe. It was like a little circular port and it was like popping out my chest and you could push on it. And Monday morning they would I don't know the phrase, but they put the needle in
Yeah.
and then it kind of hangs and that's where they hook you up to the IVs
Sure.
and the chemo and stuff like that. But then every day they would just leave it in and tape it up. But for me to shower, I'd have to take like saran wrap, plastic bags, and like literally tape a perfect square because they're like, if there's any moisture that gets in the tube, like you could die because it's tapped into like my main artery in my
gosh.
chest. Yeah, I was like, oh. I was like, so now like when I'm feeling like crap, I got to pay attention to this. And yeah, it was just, it's a lot. It's heavy. It's crazy.
Wow. So after that, you went through COVID and you're getting back out into the world. When did you
Yup.
start feeling like yourself again?
Believe it or not, my body snapped back pretty quick.
Wow.
I started working out, did the whole garage gym stuff, was like sourcing whatever I could find at the
Yes.
time.
What'd
and
you find?
like resistance bands, and I was
Yeah.
doing makeshift lat pull downs. I take an easy curl bar and 2 bands, and in the garage I had like these hooks, and I just like time under tension with
Wow.
the bar, dumbbells. I mean, anything we could find. I
Cool.
mean, but yeah, the size started coming back on, and my coloring, I started looking alive, you know,
Yeah.
and it was cool. Like, it's crazy how resilient your body is and how quickly it snaps back because I think like a month or two, I was pretty good. I remember going to a shoot during chemo to try it, and I just couldn't. My partner, Steve, the one that visited me, he's like, bro, just chill. He's like, I got this. So I tried, and then I remember doing a couple shoots shortly after chemo, and I was still feeling pretty good, but I get tired. I get winded and drained and stuff. But yeah, the recovery wasn't as bad as I thought it would be.
Wow.
It was, I think once my body had time to flush out all the toxins, it was like a wave of just like good hormones and chemicals being pumped throughout me where it was like almost like a little rebirth. Like when the hair grew back, it was softer, like my skin was cleared up more. And when it came back with the pigment, it was interesting. Yeah.
Wow. So now you are healthy and you are strong.
Thank God.
Yes.
Yeah, yes.
And what do you have ahead of you now going forward this year?
I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
just on this new journey. Obviously, I'm going to still do the commercial work and the brand stuff I do for all the client work, but I don't know. I'm trying to find my place right now in like this space, and I don't know where to start. And we did an event for TCL, and there was this guy, Charlie Rocket. I think he was 2 Chainz producer.
Oh, wow.
Super overweight and had a brain tumor.
Oh my
And this
gosh.
was like right before Christmas, so a couple months ago. And I was absolutely touched by his story. And he has like a foundation, he does all this cool stuff. And I want to reach back out to him. We've been chit chatting and stuff and pick his brain because he inspired me to even like sit here today and like share that story. And he wound up shooting a Nike spec ad. He always wanted to be a Nike athlete.
Wow.
I think he was a little over 400 pounds at his heaviest. And he lost the weight, got rid of the brain tumor, beat the cancer, sent Nike that video, and they did a whole campaign on him. He paid a video guy to shoot this like spec ad, sent it to them, and his story motivated them so much. They're like, we're going to actually film a real commercial for you. So I just get choked up because like, it's such a, like, I could feel everything in that like story. And I'm not looking for that, but like, if his story can impact me and I can relate to him, and I've met so many people over the past couple of years that have cancer survivors and similar stories, like a trainer in the gym that I go to, he had cancer and he's kicking it. And there's so many people that since I've shared my story and journey, they've opened up and shared theirs with me. And I think that's what this is about, just letting others know they're not alone and that we can all help one another grow and be supportive, and that the world's not as scary and desolate as it feels sometimes when you're in those dark moments.
I mean, I'm sure you naturally have just art and creativity flowing through you. And I also wonder if the depth of these things that you've gone through has allowed you to be able to be a storyteller in a much deeper way.
I feel like it very well could. Absolutely.
I
think
see it.
It
Like
helps
you're
like the emotional stuff. Like I am an emotional person, but yeah, just the depth of the story I think has allowed me to, even when I talk about it now, just give that little bit extra detail that really hits, because I think it's important that it does when I'm explaining it, and just sharing that story. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the all of the videos that you make are so like it's a car commercial, and I'm like, this is beautiful.
Thank
it's
you.
just so incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah, can you tell me a little bit about your creative process when you're going into working with a company? Because I just feel like there's something different and special about how you go about it.
I just always try to take a look at what their competitors are doing and try to make a twist on it when it comes to the creativity. So I'll just research a bunch of inspiration for, like, say it's like an athleisure line. I'm going to look up all the different brands. I even have some websites that show me how much money they're putting behind ads and which ads are performing. So it helps give me an idea of the style and what it is that we're looking for. And then I always just try to tailor the shoots to something relatable to the brand's identity. You know, like we did a e-bike commercial, and for every e-bike they sell, they plant a tree. And I thought that was so cool that they're giving back. And when I pitched them on shooting the commercial, I even included that. And just by giving them that little bit extra, that it's like, hey, I'm not sending a cookie cutter presentation to all these brands. I'm doing my research, taking my time to let you know that I've learned about your company. They instantly were like, yo, it's a wrap. Like, we want to work with you. So I think it's just important when it comes to like what I do, really connecting with finding a problem or a solution for that brand, whether it's like their content's lagging or their e-com stuff isn't as good or as catching, and just like really just provide that solution for them. And then we get to have fun with the creative concepts. All right, do you want like high-end commercial look? Do you want like really nice light, editorial style? Like I try to bounce ideas off of them and then just create the mood board. And I think a lot of the mood board and the inspo board helps a ton, like get those visuals dialed in.
So what's the difference between a commercial and editorial kind of style?
Editorial, especially for like clothing or in studio, it's like very high-end fashion, very high-key look. So you see like a lot of the bigger brands like Gucci or Louis, they'll shoot like in broad, like high noon daylight, where most of the time we don't want to shoot, but there's a certain aesthetic with the harsh shadows, and it just has like the editorial look where commercial tends to be a little bit more poppier, a little bit more vibrant with the type of stuff that I do. So yeah, I'd say the editorial is more like the Vogue style, like what you see, like very edgy, chic, that type of look, you know, whereas commercial, you get to have a little bit more experimentation and fun with stuff like that.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Speaking of clothing, you've influenced me.
I see.
I'm now an ASRB fan. I know it's a menswear line, but I love it. I'm
They're
a tall
coming out
girl.
with girl stuff.
Are they really?
JB's working on it.
Oh my
Yes,
gosh.
he is. But yeah, I mean, it's the comfiest stuff I've ever worn. I just wear it on set all day because this stuff allows me to be mobile and not wear jeans. I love the
Totally.
fit.
I was like, I'm sold.
Yeah.
Because I
And
saw
it's
the video.
quality.
Yes.
That's the thing. How many
Yes.
athleisure brands, 2 or 3 washes, it's pulling apart.
Done.
As long as you hang dry, delicate, and it's fine.
Easy.
Yeah.
It's so good. Well, job well done because I bought this
course.
because of you.
I know I saw you asking about D, like, you need some new clothes?
Yes.
Like, let me know which ones.
Yes, and we got Dennis some things too. He got 3 pairs
saw.
of pants. He got 3 pairs of pants. He got a hoodie.
You went to the Beverly Hills one?
We did.
Yeah. It's
And
a
they
cool
were so
store.
helpful.
They're awesome there.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
their customer service, even online.
Yeah.
I'd have like the logo after a couple washes could crack.
Yeah.
They'd send me a whole brand new pair of joggers.
That's
or whatever.
amazing.
Yeah, like they're really on it. And that's
so
like
cool.
one thing when it comes to like a brand I believe in, like just having that good backing is really cool.
Do you have like a dream job or like dream company or type of thing that you'd want to create?
I want to do more documentaries for
Cool.
sure. Yeah. I think I love telling stories and I just want to tell all different types. So yeah, I'm always looking for unique stories to tell on people. And I've done some with like surfers that make like surfboards. I want to get into just anyone who has a unique story that needs to be told. I think that's where I think I'd like to end up with doing like more like full time.
Cool.
Yeah, that or maybe being pulled to a brand, but I've tried that a couple of times and I think I'm just meant to be an agency owner.
100%. Because then you can kind of pick and choose and
Yeah.
be able to, just have more flexibility with that.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a couple questions, sort of a rapid fire style.
Let's do it.
Because this is called the first hour. So I want to know some of your firsts.
Oh boy.
Some
Okay.
firsts.
This will be fun.
Okay. What was your first job?
Foot Locker.
Foot Locker.
Yes. Yes, in
Selling
high
the
school.
shoes.
Yup.
All the
yup,
things.
yup,
Amazing.
Yup. At
Well-
the mall.
Oh, I love it. What mall?
Sunrise in Massapequa.
Sunrise. Shout out Sunrise in
We called
Massapequa.
it matzo pizza because you were either Italian or Jewish. It was the funniest thing, I swear.
That's
like I said, the
amazing.
Baldwins and Seinfeld. It wasn't
my
Massapequa. It's
gosh.
matzo pizza. Like,
Oh my gosh. Okay, wait, quick sidebar on Long Island. Mm-hmm. There was a serial killer that they just caught on there. Is
Oh my
that close
God.
to where you were?
I grew up on the block.
Stop.
Yes. Yes. We
Wait.
just found out. I grew up on 416 First Avenue, and he was at the end of the block. And my mom, even like when I found out, and it's funny because one of my friends, she's a big true crime person on YouTube, like
Yeah.
millions. She did the story, and I called my mom instantly and was like, the Gilgo Beach killer was on our block. And she's like, oh, I know. She's like, I heard all about it. And it was crazy because there was always this rundown house, and Massapequa was like a nice community.
Yeah.
Beautiful suburbs, very wealthy, like by the water, canals, like everything. And he was like a big contractor or like architect in New York City. And yeah, the story's crazy, but it was very bone chilling when I found that out, that I grew up on the same block and was living on the block while he was committing all that stuff. Crazy.
That is unbelievable. So
This
scary.
is like 3 months ago, a handful of months ago when he was arrested. Yeah.
You didn't know him. Did you know him?
No. We never saw anyone like come in or out. It was just like a rundown, like the eyesore of the block, you know?
Oh my gosh. Look, I'm a trusting person, but like stuff like that makes me be like, I need to have
Yeah.
the guard up.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And just like people that you think are normal, No.
No.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, thank you for that. Let's continue. Let's lighten it up a little bit.
Yes.
What was your first concert?
First concert was, it was called the Dysfunctional Family Picnic Tour. It was by K-Rock, which was like a big rock station on Long Island, New York. And it was like Korn, Disturbed, like all those old bands, like the metal bands that like I grew up with.
Disturbed. What was their...
Down with the Sickness.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that like weird thing he did in the beginning. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Who was your first celebrity crush?
Christina Aguilera.
Great choice.
Yeah.
Great choice.
I was always a fan of her, not Britney.
You've spoken. Hey, I've got no skin in that game.
No hate in the comments.
What was your first fear that you remember having?
Taking my shirt off in gym class. Yeah.
Gym class?
Yeah. Like in the locker room.
Oh, in the
for like
locker
we'd have to get changed. So I would go into the stalls and kids would always give me shit. So I hated that. Yeah.
Kids are the worst. I have zero patience for bullying.
Oh yeah.
Zero. What was the first time you felt like an adult?
I think like when my parents like at parties or occasionally let me have a sip of wine or something, I always felt like pretty badass.
You were.
My dad would be like, have a sip of beer. Like, you know, I'm like 13 at the
Yes.
time or something. I was like, really? He's like, yeah, it's like your cousin's graduation. It's one sip. I'm like, oh, cool.
And this is adulthood.
Right?
What's the first app that you check in the morning?
You already know. I hate to say it, but it's going to be all the social media,
Yes.
Instagram. I'm trying really hard my first hour of being awake, not even touching the phone. I'm trying to like wake up every morning, slam some water, meditate a little bit, stretch. Like, yeah, I'm really trying to like not wake up and instantly grab it. It's so easy to, right?
It's so easy to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
No judgment ever. 'Cause I'm the same way. What's the first time you ever got in trouble at school? If you ever got in trouble.
Yeah. So my mom put me in Catholic school until I got kicked out. So I was in 5th grade and just a little bit of a menace. And yeah, we would make the nuns' lives hell.
Those poor nuns.
And they were hitting us with rulers and throwing
So it was not so
like
much.
a eraser. No, they were savage. That's when they were able to get away with like stuff like that.
I see.
But no, I got kicked out with this kid, Mark. And it's funny because when we got pulled out, we went to the same school district, and then come middle school, we circled back around. We were at different elementary schools. It was pretty funny.
Oh my
They were like,
gosh.
oh my God, I haven't seen you in years. But yeah, we were just menaces and would just cause a ruckus.
Kids being kids.
Yeah, that's all.
You have tattoos, right?
I do.
What was your first tattoo?
My first one is like a traditional Japanese koi sleeve,
Cool.
but then I have like Survivor and then
Wow.
Created to Create on my neck.
That's amazing.
Yeah, those two are like my favorite too.
That's amazing. Do you have others that you're thinking of?
I'd always want to get more, but just not sure when and what. Yeah.
I feel you. I have zero. Zero.
Yeah.
And I'm just too scared. But
It's not bad.
yeah. Last one, since we were talking about fashion, what was the first fashion trend you remember following?
So growing up on Long Island, we had this Jersey Shore stereotype. And yeah, back when I was like, I lost all the weight and stuff, that whole like phase, tape up, True Religion jeans, going to DJs in Belmar, that was a real thing. Like that wasn't just like a TV show. Like we would all go to the Jersey Shore in the summer. I bounced at clubs where Jenny would always be at. Her boyfriend would be arguing at at the club. Like, yeah, crazy stuff. But it was just really funny over the years. But yeah, I would say that whole phase, the EDM house music, but like the club era, not like the festival.
Gotcha.
We were just a bunch of Long Island tool bags. I mean, we were a bunch of, Guidos with the tape, like to the T. Like that was us.
Gym
Like,
tan laundry was real.
hand to God, every Friday we went to the mall and got a new fitted like Affliction t-shirt. We went to the gym. We did go tanning. Like that is one, I swear that was a big fit. Like that was Long Island culture.
That's amazing.
Yep. The girls with like the contacts, the eyebrows.
Wait, what's the contacts?
All the brown girls had like blue eyes.
Oh,
and
really?
Yeah, just like that whole Jersey Shore aesthetic is legit.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's funny.
The more you know.
It was a good phase.
Yeah, a great face,
You gotta have
right?
it.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the fun part about looking back. It's like, that was the era.
That's
it. What we did.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. Well, Jay, you are truly incredible. Thank you for taking the time, and again, for your openness to talking about these things.
Thank you.
That you've gone through, and also just your creativity and the amazing things that you've created. And
Appreciate it.
Cannot wait to see all the things that you create going forward. It's going to be incredible.
Thank you. I just appreciate you allowing me to get on your platform and share, have a voice where I feel comfortable enough to show it and just confident enough to be sitting here today, because this is still very new.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm still working it out.
Well, keep shining, man. You're incredible. Truly.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So where can people find you? Because everyone needs to follow you. They need to subscribe, all the things.
So it's the letter I, the letter M. Some people put IAM. So
Gotcha.
I'm _ Jason Anthony.
Amazing.
All platforms.
I am _ Jason Anthony.
Yes.
Amazing. Sounds good. And if a company is watching this who wants to hire you, just hit you up on Instagram, or do you have a place, like a website that you want them to go to?
Yeah, the website's Off Type Digital, OFFTYPE Digital, but Instagram's probably the easiest.
Perfect.
But yeah,
Find them on IG.
I mean,
All right, Jay. Thank you so much.
thank you.
Thank you so much for joining today's episode. You can find all about Jay in the show notes. I'll put links to his website and his socials so you can connect with him directly. But I'm so inspired by Jason and all that he's overcome and all that he's going to continue to do. He is incredibly talented, and I'm grateful to know him as a colleague and as a friend. He is absolutely wonderful, so make sure you go connect with him. Also, make sure you subscribe to this channel so you don't miss any of our upcoming episodes. We have incredible interviews and experiences coming up as well. Make sure you give this show a thumbs up if you liked this episode. So thanks again for joining, and we'll see you next time.